Singleness of purpose. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. We're glad you're all here, especially newcomers. In keeping with our singleness of purpose and our third tradition, which states the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking, we ask that all who participate confine their discussion to their problems with alcohol. Is there anyone present who is at their first meeting or in their first 30 days of sobriety? If so, please introduce yourself. We ask this not to embarrass you, but so that we may get to know you better.
Hi, my name is Jake, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Jake.
Hi, my name is Trevor, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Trevor. Anybody else? Or is there anybody here from out of town?
Hi, my name is Jake, and I'm still an alcoholic.
Where are you from, Jake?
Ventura, California.
Anybody else? All right, Ryan will read the preamble.
Ryan! Hey everybody, I'm Ryan. I'm an alcoholic. This is our preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. Thanks.
And Eric will read the steps.
Hello, everyone. I'm an alcoholic. My name's Eric. Here are the steps we took which are suggested as a program of recovery. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all affairs.
Thanks, Eric. If you could please silence your cell phones at this time. Also, we ask that if you could please refrain from getting up and down during the speakers, but if you must, please do so quietly. If you're going to smoke, we ask you to please be away from any buildings. Please be respectful as we are guests of the church. Also, if you have any announcements in between speakers, please see the group secretary. Group secretary, raise your hand. Okay, Danielle will now read the traditions.
Hi, my name is Danielle. I'm an alcoholic. The 12 traditions. 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. 2, for our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, loving God as He may express Himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3, the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups as a whole. 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. 6, an AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise Thus, problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7. Every group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8. Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9. AA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10. Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11. Our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need to always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. And 12. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities.
And Brad will do the chips.
Hi, I'm Brad. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Brad.
Okay, well, these chips symbolize your lengths of sobriety, and the first one we have is a surrender chip if you want to come back to Alcoholics Anonymous. And this is for 1 day of sobriety, or you want to surrender. There's Jake and Trevor. All right, our next chip we offer is 30 days. We have 30 days of sobriety. Okay, 60 days, 2 months. We have anybody for 3 months of sobriety? That was Mindy. All right, 6 months of sobriety. Anybody been sober for 9 months today? All right, the last chip we offer is 1 year multiple. All right, give yourself a hand. And God,
All right, thanks, Brad. We have a home group member tonight celebrating an anniversary. Susan, would you come up and speak for us?
You know, I wasn't planning on talking, but my sponsor's law, she's on 52 and Little. I don't know where that is. 'Cause I don't even know how to get here, so, you know, we'll just wing it. And when she comes in that door, I'm going to go, get up here. You know, so, we'll, you know, first of all, I want to thank all of you for making me feel so welcome. When I came here, it's been over a year. But this is my first year celebrating with you guys, my anniversary, which is today. You know, that's really cool because, you know, it falls on my, you know, Friday. That's my home group day, and that was really cool. And I mean, because otherwise I don't pick up until December. Because it's bad juju, it's bad luck, you know, to pick up before it's time. But today I have 7 years of continuous sobriety only by the grace of God. But when I got here, oh man, I was hurting. My best friend had just died, and I came here about 2 months after that. I was asked, my friend who spoke here last week, Annie, she was speaking, so I came to support her, and we were in that little room then. And then she signed me up to speak. So then I came the following week, And then I came every week after that, you know. And you guys made me feel so welcome. You know, when we lose somebody, at least this is what happened with me, you know, you just get comfortable just doing the same thing, going to the same meetings. I was doing that, and I was in a rut. I was in a real rut. So I said, you know what, let's step out of that. So I came here, and slowly every week I learned somebody else's name. I'm really bad at that. So, you know, when you see me, just say your name, you know. But, you know, every week I learn something, and that's what's so neat about this group. And I'm just so happy that I joined you guys. I made that cannoli cake, and once again, it's the cake that's left. Nobody likes it. But it was my anniversary, so I made what I wanted. Everybody likes the fruit. I don't know what the deal is. But whatever. I stuffed them little cannolis all by hand and everything. But anyway, enough about me. I love, you know, and they say that. You get to talk about you. I don't like talking about me. So if you want to hear like the long version, I'm going to be speaking at Dawn and Jennifer's group on next Tuesday. So you can hear the depressing stuff. But somebody said to me last night, you know, 7 years, it's like the 7-year itch, and that's when you realize just how much damage you did to everybody and to yourself. I realized that probably about 2 years in, how much damage I had done to my health-wise, and how much damage I had done to my family and everybody that loved me and all my neighbors. And my neighbors are so happy I'm sober now. I got a neighbor here. They're so happy because they don't have to watch out for their mailboxes or nothing. The one lady at the end, I clipped her mailbox twice, knocked my mirror off twice. And she doesn't have to worry. And I always wondered why she didn't make a big stink about it. I found out she's an alcoholic. Practicing alcoholic. You know, so she's, oh, that's okay. We'll just get it back in the ground. And, you know, and then I did it again. She said, well, you know, all you did was knock my mailbox over, but your mirror is hanging. You know, but some of my neighbors are happy. You know, the dogs around the neighborhood are happy too. So, no, I'm just kidding about that. You know, I wasn't planning on talking, so, boy, what do I got to do? Tell my story now? Yeah. Okay. I grew up in an alcoholic family. My brother, God bless him, he just got sober. And he had gotten sober in 1988, and he stayed sober for 13 years, and then he went back out. Now he's, you know, now I got more sobriety than him, which I never thought was going to happen. I thought, you know, we're going to get sober, we're going to be sober together and watch all the rest of the family drink at events and stuff. And I liked that for about 10 minutes, you know, because my family, they're not alcoholics. His children, his wife, they're not alcoholics. They sit at Christmas dinner. They have, let's have a little white wine. Oh, they have a white wine bottle and maybe a red wine. And they go, oh yeah, this tastes really good with beef. You know, us, we just scarfed it down. We don't care what, red, white, whatever, you know. Or if it ever saw it, great. You know, and they're, you know, they swish it around, you know, what wine people do. Oh my God. And I just look at them and I'm like, they're not alcoholics. You know, and they just really enjoy a glass of wine, and then it'll be the end of the dinner, and there'll be like 2 bottles still not even finished, and I'm like, oh my God, what a waste. You know, and you know, my brother and I would just roll our eyes and like look at them, and they're just, you know, but that's how it is at my family. It didn't used to be like that. Now, you know, my brother and I, there's just the 2 of us, and my mom and dad were both alcoholics. They're both dead now. But I got into this fellowship. My mom died rather suddenly. And she died on a Sunday. on a Thursday, 5 days later, I was in your lovely jail, Land O'Lakes Jail. And I spent 36 hours in there. And then 2 days later, I was in rehab. And I took it to heart, and I tried to get sober. When I got out, although when I was in rehab, when they would go around the room and introduce yourself, I would say, I'm an addict, because I still wanted to be able to drink. You know, I was still holding out. You know, I was still holding out that I could drink with impunity. I could drink. Not so. So when that little white van dropped me off after 30 days, I came in the house. The first thing I did was make a cocktail. I don't know, all the steps and everything that were on the wall, that really messed me up, because I took a couple sips and I said, I can't do this. You know, why did I go through all that for 30 days? God has another plan for me. So I put the drink down. I went to, I started going to meetings, you know, sitting in the back, like some of us do, sitting in the back, or the first meeting that I went to was the Dunedin group, and that became my first home group for 5 years. And I walked in and I sat way on the opposite side of the room. Well, there's no door on the opposite side of the room. So I remember they called on me, and I'm like, oh my God. It was a discussion meeting, and I just wanted to dig a hole and crawl right in it. You know, I didn't want to share my life. I thought it was really weird that I have to come and tell all of you, you know, stuff that's really in my heart. And I don't even know you. I thought that was just really odd. So it took me a while to trust everybody. So I went to a meeting, and my sponsor better get here, because I'm going to start to talk about her now. And it would be nice if she could hear this, and then she could walk in, and it would be really cool, but whatever. So I went to this meeting at the Eastlake group, and it happened that it was her anniversary, and she was sharing. And I connected with that story that she told, and the feelings. And I went up to her, and I started bawling, snot running out, bawling. And I said, will you be my temporary sponsor? You know. And I remember I said, I promise I'll keep you sober. And I didn't know what that meant. So what I thought it meant, you know, because here I'm new to AA, I thought, well, she was going to, handle all my problems. You know, she was going to, we were going to work through my problems together, and so she would stay sober because I had so many problems. It's not like that. She gave me the tools in my toolbox to fix my problems. She gave me the 12 steps. She gave me the big book, and she said the directions are in there. You know, so it wasn't but I did keep her sober. Now, if we can talk to her about being late, I told her, I said, be here by 6:30. She said, I know, it's just out in the sticks. And, you know, and I know she's been here only 2 times. Got lost both those times, too. And I don't know, you know, and the last time she was here was only a couple weeks ago, so it wasn't daylight savings time. So it was dark out already. But her husband was with her, I guess, so I don't know. Maybe he was the navigator, I don't know. But this woman has become my friend. Not only a sponsor, but my friend, confidant. You'll see, she's got the kindest eyes, and she's so patient. And that's probably why her calling in life, I shouldn't tell you. No, she's a nurse. And then she races motorcycles on the side. It's a little thing, too, skinny little thing. And she's, oops, it's a big, it's a motorcycle racer. She does that for the adrenaline rush now that she doesn't drink, And a couple people came to see her tonight. Barbara was all excited about it. But we're going to have to talk to her about punctuality. But the most important thing for me was the steps, the big book, getting a home group, being part of, not sitting in the back. I know you're sitting in the back because there's no other seats, but, not sitting back there and, and actually listening. Once I started doing that and getting to know everybody and trusting everybody, then, everything started to spill out. And, I could tell you more, and I probably will have to now. I did so many things to myself on account of my drinking. And I find this really important to say from the podium. I didn't admit this until I actually did my 5th step with my sponsor. I have this bone disease, and the only way you can get it is if you're an alcoholic. Oh, she's finally here. If you're an alcoholic, well, now I want to talk. If you're an alcoholic or deep sea diver, or your sports players get it from taking too many steroids. So guess which one I was. But I milked that for so long that my family believed it, and I remember at that precise moment when I said to her, I said, God, I lied all these years, and I milked everybody. I got their sympathy. I've had 13 hip replacements. So that's why I walk so funny, and they're both loose right now. But and it's all because of my drinking. So anybody that's younger, I did this to myself, and this has been going on. I'm 57, going to be 58. I started having the hip replacements at 27 or 28, and then I just kept drinking. I said, well, they're replaced now, so I can drink. And I just kept drinking, and then I would have it done, and then I'd sit there, well, let's take a few pain pills too then, as I'm drinking. And that's what I did, and I really ruined my health. And I'm sitting here now. But I'm glad I'm here. Now, we were talking about punctuality. My coin is up here, so if you'd like to come up here and say some real nice things about me. This is my Anne.
I give her fits.
Well, here, give me the coin. And I'll sit down.
No, not yet.
I said nice things about you.
I'm Ann, and I'm an alcoholic. I've known Susan for over 7 years. She came to my home group kind of fresh out of treatment. And I think we were having one of those nights when everybody got to share.
See?
And I was
the truth.
Was she telling you the truth?
Yeah, I told that story.
Hi, Barbara.
See, everybody's waiting for you.
So she approached me after the meeting and asked me if I would sponsor her, and she kind of scared me a little bit. So I said, well, let's think about that, call me tomorrow. So she called me the next day, and we kind of hammered out a deal, and she told me she'd keep me sober. So I'm still here. She's still here. So something's working, and she works this program. She lives it. She believes in it. She shares it freely with everyone that comes within 5 feet of her.
Oh, that was nice. Oh, man, I feel good now.
I love you.
You're going to talk now. I give you Ann, my sponsor.
And I'm sorry I'm late. I now know where Little Road ends. Way up the street. Anyway, I'm Anna. I'm an alcoholic. Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. Susan's invited me up a couple times, and I've gotten to sit on that side of the meeting, and this is a great meeting on Friday nights. It isn't where I planned on being for the rest of my Friday nights, but and it isn't where I used to be on Friday night, that's for sure. But it is absolutely the best thing that has ever happened to me coming into this program. I was 15 years old when I started to drink, and I think I was a full-blown alcoholic with the first drink. I couldn't get enough from that night. And it lasted like that for 22 years, even unto the end, when the alcohol was no longer working for me. But I still had to drink. I couldn't get drunk. I couldn't get sober. I was scared to death. I didn't know what was happening to me. And I still had to have that drink. I took it in the shower with me. It was never very far away from me at that point. But I started at age 15. I'm the oldest of 4 children. I grew up in Cooperstown, New York, on a dairy farm. I went to high school, elementary school and high school in the same school system. And it was a handful of us farm kids. And then we were the county seat. So there were many lawyers' children. And we were also affiliated, we had a hospital there, it was affiliated with Columbia University, and they sent all their med students and residents there. So they all came with their families too. So I went to school with those kids. So we were the little farm kids that had roots there, and then all these other people came in. And they always had what I wanted. They had the woolen kilts with the pin, and the loafers with the penny in them, and the knee socks, and the cashmere sweaters, and kind of dating myself, but my mom made our clothes, and we recycled things, and I was never happy. And when I found alcohol, it was kind of like the answer to everything. I could forget what I didn't have, and I went to the parties, I went to all the fancy houses, I hung out with those kids, and I thought I had really fallen into something that I always had wanted. Graduated from high school and went to college and lasted 2 semesters. When I got there, I went to Cobleskill Agricultural and Technical School, and they had a lot. I feel like I'm talking fast, but I've been driving really fast. So it's gonna take me a minute to slow down. Those kids were from New York City and Long Island, and they were way ahead of me. I was a naive little country girl that thought she was very sophisticated, and these kids came on my scene, and they had a lot of stuff going on, and I was very happy to join in. That's where drugs are a big part of my story, but the alcohol was always number one. If I drank, I could do whatever else I wanted to do. I started with it and I ended with it. And it was always available and part of my story. So I made 2 semesters there. I didn't go to class. I slept till about 2 in the afternoon. And then I joined a sorority, and our calling card was a keg in the bathtub. And we had a brother fraternity, and theirs was 2 kegs in the bathtub. So that was a great relationship for me. So nobody went to class, and some of those kids made it. I didn't. I got the pink slip, came in the mailbox that spring after I got home, and I saw it, and I knew what it was, and I squirreled it away for a few days, and finally I brought it out, and I had this whole story, and this was how I operated throughout the rest of the years. But I told my mom and dad that I had decided I wouldn't go back to school. I wanted to get a job. And I kind of showed them the letter, but quickly so that they couldn't really read it. And so I got a job, and I worked at that hospital where a lot of those kids' families were doctors and med students and residents. So I worked at the hospital for a couple years, drinking. And I went away for a weekend with one of the kids that I knew from that college. And it wasn't for a weekend, it was for one day. So my dad said, because I was still living at home. I went to school when I was 17, so I was probably about 18 and a half. Snotty little 18 and a half year old. My parents said, sure, you can go ahead and go with this boy out to Western New York, and we were going to go to a cattle auction at the state fair out in Syracuse. You're nodding. But anyway, I've been there. But so I went away with him, and there was this guy that I had a crush on was also at the same auction, so I hooked up with him. And didn't come home till Sunday. So my mother sent me up to my room and told me to lock my door because my dad was going to kill me. And it was this whole big thing, and I really didn't see what the big deal was. Well, I have lived through an 18 and 19-year-old daughter, so I now know what the big deal is. It's kind of scary when you don't know where your kid is when they're supposed to be home. But yeah, so like about 3 weeks later, my suitcase was at the front door. And they had gotten me an apartment and a roommate. That was quick. So I loaded my stuff up in the car and went to my new home. And it was wonderful. I had no parents. I had a full-time job. There was bars down the street. And I was off to the races. And I started to get in trouble. My grandparents lived in Dunedin. And I started to get in trouble. And I was kind of afraid that would get back to my parents because it was a real small town. So I came down here for spring break and fell in love with it. So I went home and again, like the pink letter, didn't tell my parents I was getting in trouble, but told them that I fell in love with Florida and I'm going to move. And you know what? They were really happy. Get out of here. So I packed up and left, and I came down here and was married within 6 months. Who knew? Who knew when I left? But anyway, I met my husband, and he had beer in his hand and pot in his pocket, and I was like, oh, cool, I like this guy. So we hung out for a while and took a walk on the big Indian Rocks fishing pier, if anybody remembers that. It was a beautiful night, and he held my hand, and I fell in love, and we got married like 3 months later. And we're still married. We're still married. It's been like 34 years. That is a miracle only because of this program. Only because of this program. But anyway, yes, so we got married, we had a daughter, and we've moved, bought and sold houses, and I have a resume that reads like a typical alcoholic's novel. I always used to say I never got fired, but I always quit a job before I was going to get fired. So I was like 5 feet ahead of the boss as they were kicking me out the door. I had a big habit of whenever there was an office party, I'd get drunk before the office party and then go to the office party, and then I'd shoot my mouth off. And the worst one, I remembered it after I had come into the program, and it's still, I've never been able to find the woman. She was like the chief financial officer for this medical facility that I worked for in Largo, and she was the nicest woman on earth. And I think it was her 40th birthday, and her husband had given her a red Corvette. And I kind of think maybe she didn't understand what I was saying because I was just so drunk. You know, when your tongue is like jello in your mouth. But I remember what I thought I said, and it was, you think you're better than everybody else? Who do you think you are? You got that red car. And, you know, there's all my character defects coming out with the aid of alcohol. Very inappropriate, very, very bad behavior. One I'm not proud of. So she was on my list, but I could never find her. And I did see that her husband had passed away, so she may have relocated somewhere else. So I wrote that in a letter and just threw it, lit it on fire and let it burn to the sky. But since I've been sober, I haven't acted like that. Fast forward to the very end, it was quite hideous at the end. drugs and the alcohol had really taken over my life. We had the blinds shut and the answering machine set down to one ring so that it could just pick up, so that I didn't have to answer the phone. I was no longer employable. I thought I had this rockin' business going, and I had gone to Home Depot and bought a yellow bucket and a mop, and I had a vacuum and all kinds of cleaning stuff from the Dollar Tree. And hi, Mary. That was seeing different people. Anyway, that was that was my corporation, and that's that grandiosity that the alcohol gives us. But I know now if I ever lose my job and can't get another one, I'm humble enough to clean toilets again. I would do that if I had to. It took care of me. God gave me what I needed at that time. But I was unemployable, so I did that. And I did it for a year after I got sober. But at the very end, with the drugs and alcohol, I was not hanging out with very nice people. And the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department got involved, and the Florida troopers and the DEA, and by God's grace, I probably should still be in prison, but my husband and I were advised to go see a counselor. We never got arrested. We were in the middle of these big drug traffickers, and all we were two addicts that lived in a little tiny house. We had a convertible that the canvas was ripped, and we had a television that you had to beat to get it to work. And we were in over our heads, but we were horribly alcoholic and addicted at that point. So when we got, the gig was up, and we got the news that we needed to go to a counselor, we jumped on that, and we went to a counselor, and she talked to my husband first, because I still wasn't too sure that, all this stuff that was going on, that I was an alcoholic or an addict, because I'd never even thought about those words. So we sent him in, because he was the one that had to straighten up. So he went in and was in there for about 5 minutes, and he comes out with the counselor behind him, and she's like, "You need to come in here." So I went in and sat down. She had a big box. I can see the coffee table with the box of Kleenex. Box of Kleenex looked that big. And she said, "How much do you drink?" Nobody'd ever asked me that. And I sure wasn't going to tell you if you did ask me. But that was a moment of clarity when she asked that question. It's like that joke that they tell about sending the boat to the people in the flood on the roof. Which boat are you going to take? I took the first boat. When she asked that question, I said, I drink a case of beer a day and about a half a gallon of wine, and I do as much cocaine as I can shove up my nose, and then I use pot so I can go to bed 3 days later. And she's like, oh. She didn't send me to detox. She sent me and my husband home to look up the phone number for Alcoholics Anonymous. So we went home. And I am detoxing at this point. I'm sweating and brown stuff is coming out of me, and I'm not thinking clearly, and it was pretty much a mess. So we went home. I live in a working neighborhood, so it's like a Monday at noon. Nobody's home. We go in the house, we had opened the curtains by that point because we weren't doing anything anymore. So we dropped the curtains down, locked the front door, went in the bedroom, closed the bedroom door, went in the bedroom closet, turned the light on, closed the closet door, because that's where our phone book was. Like somebody's going to know we're looking up the phone number. How sick. I mean, it's just, I look at some of this stuff and I'm like, the insanity of the drink. And so we go in there and we're both shaking like crazy, and we write down the phone number, and I'm like, you call. No, you call. You call. You call. So he called. I always made him do everything. That's why he got the DUIs and I didn't. But so he called, and we got central office, and they told us where the nearest meeting was. And I live in Palm Harbor, so it was at the dry dock. And I think it was a Tuesday, and I think it was a step meeting when I went back in time, when I kind of had sobered up a lot and thought about it. But we went there, and it was an 8 o'clock meeting. And there were all these people out front, and they were all smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee, and the building was light inside. I was drinking at this point in these really dark, nasty bars. So I hadn't been out at night with the lights on with people that I could actually see. So they smiled and they had us come in, and I'm sure they knew we were new. I don't know how you could miss it. We sat in the back row, and I was in tears, just in tears. And that was my first meeting. I don't remember. I didn't say, "Hi, I'm Ann, I'm an alcoholic." I think I just said, when they went around, they asked us to please say your names. And I think I said, "I'm Ann." And I know my husband didn't say I'm an alcoholic at that point. So they invited us back. Nobody invited me back for a really long time. So we went back the next night, and then we heard 90 meetings in 90 days. So we started doing the 90 meetings in 90 days. Within a week, I started to think a little bit better. Some of the remorse was starting to hit me too, because it was really scary where we had been. So the days went by, and then the weeks went by. I got a sponsor. I went to a ladies' meeting, and I was at a mixed meeting at the dry dock every night at 8 o'clock, and on a Friday night, a couple of the men kind of grabbed a hold of me and said, "We know where you need to go," and they took me to this door and opened it. I didn't know what was back there. I wasn't really big into investigating at that point. I just wanted to get in and sit down, not draw attention to myself. So they took me to this door and opened it and kind of pushed me in there. And the room was dark, and there were candles lit, and there were women everywhere. So I was like, wow. So they welcomed me in, and I sat down. And that's a huge part of my story, because they loved me before I even knew they loved me. And I'm looking at one of them right now, cry. But anyway, it was just amazing. It was just amazing. And that was the beginning of my journey. I got a sponsor from that group, and she started me in the steps, and she was very gentle and kind and loving. I was not one of these people that needed somebody that's going to be a real hard ass with them. I had destroyed myself enough that I was willing. I came in here willing and ready for a change in my life. I knew something was going to be different, but it was really scary coming through that door, because as bad as what I had going on in my life, at least I knew about it. This, I had no idea. So I came in, and the ladies, every week it was a different topic, and everybody talked about stuff going on in their lives, and I finally figured out that's what you do when you share. Do you want to share? It took me a while to be able to do that, and we touched on all kinds of subjects, and everything that we talked about always came back again to the program and the steps and the big book. And that's how I learned how important that is, to keep that in my life. So, so I did that meeting for a really long time. My sponsor also guided me on the spiritual path. We did the steps, and I went through all the different stages of recovery through the steps and figuring out who my higher power was. And by about step 3, I figured it was all of you guys. And that's what it says in the big book. If you don't have a God in your life, make the group your God. And I could do that because you guys were making pretty good decisions and things were going good for you. So if you told me to do something, I wasn't 100% sure, but I absolutely knew it was better than my decisions had been. So I started to do all of that, and then she had me start, from the beginning, call her, and I had trouble calling her, and then all of a sudden that got easier. And we would go through my day, and she would ask me questions about my day, and then she would point out different things that happened to me in my day, and she would say, "That's a miracle. That was God's hand in your day. That was another miracle." And I started to see how God works in our lives when we don't even know He's working in our lives. And it's, like tonight, I actually didn't end up in Spring Hill. So he must have known enough to make me turn around at Little in US 19. But anyway, so I have an amazing higher power. He has led me on a journey in this program that I hope I'm able to share with newcomers when they ask me, and that I can relate it well enough so that they can have what I've been privileged to get. I don't know. That's up to God, though. But so my anniversary date is January 11th, 1994. Wow. I was 38 years old when I came in here, so I'm Susan's age, 57. I think I'm younger than you. But anyway, I fully expected to be dead by 40. That was always my mantra at the parties. I'm going to die at 40 and I'm going to have alcohol in my hand. And so here, I'm still here for some reason, and it's amazing. In sobriety, once I got into the program and my life started to change, we spend a lot of time drinking and hiding it and lying and trying to figure out the lies and getting up and dealing with the hangover and going to make money so we can go and buy the alcohol and then finding some place to consume it. And it's exhausting thinking about it. So all of a sudden, when I was waiting for meetings, I had a lot of time on my hands because I only cleaned for about 4 hours a day. So I purposely, because that meant I had a lot of time to drink. So now all of a sudden I have all this empty time. The first thing I did, probably within a couple months, my sponsor thought, yeah, it would be a good idea if you went and tried to develop like a hobby or something you enjoy, because we had a conversation about that one night. So I went up to Michael's and I took a Wilton's cake decorating course. That was like about as far 180 degrees the other way from where I had been. And while I enjoyed it, it wasn't my cup of tea. So we moved on. So then there were a couple other things that my husband and I attempted to do. He, those little glass things on top of telephone poles? I can't remember what they're called, but anyway, we collected those for a while. So we drove all over North Florida looking for those stupid things. And that wasn't very exciting. So, and in the meantime, my husband that came in with me is going in and out, and he's going to nursing school. So he graduates from nursing school, and I hardly ever share this in any of my meetings or anything. But anyway, after nursing school, because he worked full-time and he went to class full-time and did clinicals and care plans and 24 hours, 7 days a week. He was occupied. So all of a sudden he graduated, and he too had a lot of time on his hands. And I looked through the pass-through in the kitchen one day, and he's laying on the couch with the flicker, click, 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 click. And by this time, my sobriety is really starting to click along, and I'm excited about life again, and I want to get out there and start using what I've learned in these rooms. So I looked at my husband, and I'm like, I didn't get sober just to sit around the house and watch you flick that television. So he's like, okay. So he's going to get a hobby. So I heard him on the telephone, and we've done fishing and boats, and we've done quite a few things in our insane drunkenness. It's a wonder we were camping. We went camping with a boat all over North Florida with Jack Daniels. That was interesting. But so I said, you need to get a hobby. So I heard him on the telephone, and he used to race dirt bikes, and I heard him talking about motorcycles, and I was like, that might be interesting. A street bike we can ride around on. So the next thing, he is pulling up to my job, and I worked in the front office at that time. I did all the money for a medical practice, and because I've gotten far enough along now where I can hold a job and be respectable, and I dressed up and looked nice, and I really, once my brain got working, it worked pretty good. I was surprised. So I could do normal jobs that everybody else did. It was kind of cool. So I had this job, and I was all dressed up, and he comes to the door and says, "Come on, I got something to show you." So we drive down to Largo to the industrial section. We go to this guy's car repair with like 4 or 5 bays in it and everything, and I'm tripping over air hoses, and I've got my heels and pantyhose on, and we're going through, and he takes me to the back of the garage, and there's a motorcycle. And it's not just a motorcycle, it's like 10 feet long, and I'm like, "What is that?" He goes, "Well, that's going to be our new hobby." And I said, "Really? How do we do that?" He goes, "I don't know, but we're going to find out." So we went home and we talked about it, and he'd already made up his mind that we were going to do that. So, and I'm always willing to go along. So we purchased this motorcycle, and it was a drag bike. And we ended up down at Sunshine Speedway, and the guy that sold it to us taught him how to race this motorcycle. So he did it for about a year or two, and one day I said, that looks like fun. I bet I could do that. So a couple weeks later, he's back at my office, still dressed up. Now he takes me north to somebody else's house up in Holiday. We pull up, and there's a baby drag bike. So he talks the guy into letting us borrow it. It's a Wednesday night. We can go to Test and Tune. Talks the guy into letting us borrow it. So we load it up, and he's got my clothes with him and boots and the whole 9 yards, a helmet. So off we go. And, like any good alcoholic, fell in love with it. And I tell you that story because I've been able to use everything, all the principles that I've learned in this program, in that sport, plus some other extra bonuses that have happened doing that. You have to learn how to be a good winner. I had to learn how to be a good winner. I wasn't a good winner out in public, at home. I had really low self-esteem, so I never wanted the attention. I never could handle that way up. But then on the other hand, I never wanted to lose. So I was always fighting myself internally. And after going through the steps, and I was doing that while I was learning how to do this other hobby, and I had to apply a lot of that stuff to my insides to learn how to be a good sport with all these people that I've been introduced to. So I learned how to really use the program, how to let go of things. It's a very emotional sport. It's a lot of mental stuff. Good, I'm glad you have that. A lot of mental thinking goes on in it, and I know that from the program that I have to be able to set a balance for myself. So I had to have a balance in that, and then I had to have a balance in work, and I had to have a balance at home, and I had to have a balance with meetings. And it was really crazy for a while I was figuring out that balance, but I did it. And we also use that sport. We bring newcomers with us sometimes. It's a safe place. It's a safe place. We don't drink. Some of the people there do, but we don't drink. We've had meetings there. We've invited a bunch of people and had a barbecue and parked all the way away from everybody. There's something to do. There's entertainment, and then go back and have the meeting. And it's been awesome. We've traveled. We've had people come up to us and ask us about not drinking and how do you do that, because we are the big book outside of these rooms, every one of us. So that was another reason why learning how to behave myself there, like if I lost, not pulling my helmet off and screaming the F word and throwing the helmet across the pavement. So it's been interesting incorporating everything that I learn in these rooms into my outside life. My sponsor, the very first couple of meetings, she had me make a list. And I do this with some of my girls when they're brand new. She had me make a list of what was the most important things to me when I was brand new in the program. And I wrote down my house, my husband, my job, which I didn't really have anymore, my daughter, a whole bunch of stuff. So we exchanged lists, and I looked at hers and I was like, what? She put my sobriety 1 through 10. My sobriety, my sobriety, my sobriety, my sobriety. And I guess she could see the look on my face because I was like, how far do you want to go with this sobriety thing, you know? So she took her list back. What a lesson I learned from that. She goes, you don't have the house if you're not sober. You don't have the husband if you're not sober. You don't have that job if you're not sober. Your daughter can get taken away from you if you're not sober. I could lose everything on my list. And that, that I see that list every once in a while when I think, that drink looks good, especially around this time of year when it's on the television all the time and everything. But, this is an amazing program, and I'm grateful for everything I have. I get out of this program exactly what I put into it. If I get up in the morning and I do my reading and I talk to another alcoholic, plan my day around a meeting, I'm good. I have a fabulous day. If I go for a couple days and I don't read and I always talk to another alcoholic because my husband's back in recovery for a couple years, which is awesome, another gift. But if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, I don't think right, I don't act right, I'm in everybody's way. I have to do step 10 when I don't do all that stuff, to go apologize to people. So it just keeps me going the way I need to be going, and not going back to the alcohol again. So I again apologize for being late. That was an adventure, and I thank you very much for asking me. And happy anniversary, and I don't know, that's it. I hate the closing part. It's so hard.